Welcome to the Women in Wealth podcast, brought to you by Regina McCann-Hess, a certified financial planner with over 2 decades of experience. This show is for professional women who want guidance in working towards their retirement vision in learning, building, planning, striving for your dreams, and putting the work in now so that you can pursue your financial independence. When it comes to retirement, there are a lot of things to think about, not just the financial, but the personal, the healthcare, a lot of things packed into those conversations. And thank you for joining me. Today, we are going to talk about the 10 things you should know about retirement. I'm Regina McCann-Hess, president of Forge Wealth Management, and welcome to our Women in Wealth series. Like I said, today we're going to talk about 10 things you should know about retirement. Now, we could be talking about from healthcare cost, to feeling a lack of purpose. Also, some of the things that we talk about are the MIT labs, age labs, and they ask who you're going to have ice cream with or who you're going to have lunch with. And that's about isolation, because there's a lot of isolation in retirement, especially as you get further into retirement. You also, one of the questions they also ask is, who's going to change my light bulbs? You think, you have these 9-10 foot ceilings which look beautiful, but do you really want to get up on a ladder and change those light bulbs? Can you? Probably. Should you? Probably not. So these are things that we have to think about as we age, and especially as we get in further and further into retirement or closer and closer to retirement. And one of the first things that we talk about is budgeting for longevity. Listen, we all complain about healthcare and healthcare costs, but we do have pretty good healthcare in the United States, and life expectancies have increased dramatically thanks to advancements in healthcare. Now, considering that, you want to budget based on a life expectancy of about 90, maybe 95, depending on the longevity of your family. But you also want to include essential and discretionary spending and factor in inflation for that longevity. So that's a big part of, thinking about how long is your money going to last? Are you going to outlive your money? $50,000 budget of today, in 20 years, you're going to need $100,000 to feel like you're spending $50,000. So these are all things that you may want to consider. Okay, the second item to think about is know your income sources. So retirement income is not one size fits all. It's, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. You want to identify all of your income sources. Obviously, Social Security is one of the biggest ones. You may be lucky enough to have a pension, right? You worked your whole life for that, so you have a pension, maybe. You also may or may not have a 401k or a 403b or a TSA, all these like alphabet soup type of things. But basically a retirement plan through your former employer. You may also have IRAs, you may have annuities, you may also work part-time. There are a lot of people who retire but then work part-time because they want something to do. They don't want to just sit idle. They want to have a purpose. So that is also something that you can add into your income. After thinking about all those income pieces, you want to determine when each income source will begin, and then estimate monthly payments to build a clear retirement income plan that helps reduce the risk of outliving your money. Now, remember, when we're talking about timing for your income sources, we like Social Security either at the full retirement age or 70, not the early stuff. You take too much of a haircut. I'll get on my soapbox on that one. Okay, tip number 3, plan for healthcare costs. Healthcare is probably going to be your biggest expense in retirement. So, for instance, a 65-year-old retiring in 2025 could expect to spend at least or an average of about $172,500 in healthcare and medical expenses throughout their retirement. Now, in addition to Medicare, consider the potential benefits of supplemental insurance, long-term care insurance, and health savings accounts. Just a reminder about long-term care. Medicare does not cover long-term care expenses. Does not. A lot of people still believe that it does. It does not. It does cover some rehab, things like that. But when you get into a nursing home, like a permanent situation, that is not going to cover your needs. So that is something you do want to strategize or plan for. Okay. Point number four, minimize or manage debt. Well, that's pretty obvious, but debt can obviously drain your savings period, but especially your retirement savings. So one of the things that you may want to consider is paying or creating a payoff plan for any kind of debt, especially anything like high interest debt before you retire. Now, if you have a mortgage, you may want to consider downsizing or refinancing if it makes sense, depending on where the interest rates are. Or also like, oh, if you only have the mortgage for 3 more years, then that obviously your budget's a little bit higher for those first 3 years. But even when the mortgage is gone, you're still going to have the insurance that you're going to have to pay for your home. You're still going to have the real estate expenses and school taxes. And depending on where you are, those can be a big part of your budget. So again, you want to just plan for that and know what those expenses are going to be. Okay, but also going into retirement with debt is really something you want to sit down and talk to somebody about. If that's a strategy, you want to see how that's going to potentially hinder your long-term economic outlook in retirement. Anything that you can do to chunk that away before you retire might be a strategy that you want to look at. Okay, now number five, let's talk about your required minimum distributions or RMDs for short. Starting at age 73, for right now, the IRS requires withdrawals from most retirement accounts. Obviously, if you have a Roth plan, you do not have to, but most traditional plans you do. And not planning for that can lead to a significant tax penalty or tax bill. You know what I mean? So if you want to work with a financial professional to develop an efficient tax strategy or withdrawal strategy, maybe even consider some Roth conversions from, the age that you retire and up until your required minimum distribution age. And that can hopefully align with your overall plan and getting more money into the Roth and potentially decreasing future required minimum distributions. A great thing to have a conversation about with your financial advisor. Okay, tip number six, shift from saving to spending. Now, you have been saving for decades, so it is only normal that spending can feel uncomfortable. You have conditioned yourself that you're saving, 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 saving. And then when you start taking money out, it feels wrong, right? But that's what you've saved your whole life for this, right? So as long as you have a plan, you're sticking to your plan, this should be a good strategy for you. But retirement is, literally what you've been saving for. So you want to consider the withdrawal strategy that is going to allow your money to last as long as possible. We're talking about age 90 to 95 for some people. There's different rules. Some people talk about a 4% withdrawal rule. Some people say 3, some people say 5, depends on which financial guru you're listening to. But if you maybe use a more conservative 3 to 4% number, you may potentially have that money last a little bit longer. But again, you want to double check this with your financial advisor because, it depends on how you're attacking this and what your other income sources are. The whole kit and caboodle, it's not just looking at one thing in a silo. You got to look at everything together. So again, just looking at how you're going to draw down your money effectively and efficiently. You also want to track your spending and adjust and readjust as needed to stay within your plan. So, once or twice a year, if you're on a specific budget, you want to maybe try to look at your spending to see if you're in line or if you're over. How do you adjust for that? Or if you're under, then, maybe you have a little extra, go on a trip somewhere. But definitely checking in on those goals is as important as having them, if not more. Okay, item number 7 is really, really important, not just if you're retired, but definitely if you're retired, you want to keep your legal documents updated. Your will, your power of attorney, your healthcare power of attorney, your financial power of attorney, beneficiary designations. And if you have a trust, same thing, updating your trust. This is not something you set and forget. You want to review them every 3 to 5 years or after any major life change, a birth, a death, a divorce, anything that happened in the family, a marriage, things like that. You obviously want to keep them up to date and ensure that your wishes are honored and that your loved ones are protected for sure. Now, here's the other thing that people sometimes forget to do. They have a will or they have a trust, and then they sometimes forget to tell their financial advisor, like, hey, I updated it and I need to update my beneficiaries on my accounts. And that's important because if the financial accounts have a different beneficiary listed, like your IRA has Jim listed as your beneficiary, but your will says Jane, well, then the IRA is going to go by the name on the account because I think they call it contract law. It's not going to match up well. So that's why you want to also have that secondary conversation with your financial advisor and just make sure everything's lined up properly. Okay, item number 8, consider changes to your home. So, if you want to stay in your home, you want to support your retirement lifestyle, you may either want to stay in your home, explore downsizing or relocating somewhere warm. You know me, I'm always talking about I want to be somewhere warm. But also modifying either your existing or your new home for accessibility. Maybe a smaller, more manageable home can reduce your costs and also improve your quality of life. But especially as we become older and we have either health issues or mobility issues, really the longer we can stay in our home, the better outcome. That seems to be the research. So making these modifications to your homes can help you stay in that home longer if possible. All right, number 9, creating a daily routine. So, retirement, like I said, is not just a financial shift, it's also a lifestyle change. You want to create a daily schedule that incorporates 4 dimensions, key dimensions, especially movement, social interaction, hobbies, and rest. Movement, obviously, the more you move, the better for your body. Social interaction, that's avoiding isolation, which is a key problem in retirement. And it's something we talk about all the time. Hobbies, something to do, something to get you off the couch type of thing. And obviously rest. As we age, we may need a little bit more rest. And when I say age, I mean even pre-retirement is like, you're hearing this big thing about pickleball. It cracks me up because I would love to play it, but I'm like, oh yeah, I have bad knees. That just would be a disaster. But I cannot tell you how many people are playing it and they're having like high school, college sports injuries because they're like, your mind says, hey, let's go, let's do this. And your body's like, oh, wait a minute, we can't do that. It doesn't work that way anymore. So that's what I mean by, sometimes our bodies need a little bit more rest, or we're not as mobile as our minds think we are. In our minds, we're still like 18, 24 years old, and our bodies are just like, not really. So, think about that, take a step back and be like, okay, does that activity make sense for me? And do I need a little bit of rest? If I can do, like, let's just say you do a bike ride, like I don't know, a 5 mile bike ride or a 10 mile bike ride, whatever it is. What is your rest period after that? And what are you going to do to recuperate and to regenerate? Those are the types of things. So maybe a structured routine supports both your mental and physical health, but it also helps you keep engaged and balanced in life. Okay. So, number 10, life beyond work. Leaving the workforce can feel like losing part of your identity. Reframing retirement is really as a new chapter is actually helpful. Maybe exploring roles as a mentor, volunteer, creator, or traveler. We all like, say, oh, I want to travel here, I want to travel there. But I hear a lot of people talking about finding their purpose and their passions and their community. And they also say, I've always wanted to donate my time or volunteer to do this, or I've always wanted to maybe have another career, and my retirement career is going to be this. I'm not going to work full time. I'll work part time, but it's a passion for me, and I want to try my hand at that. So those are things that we can do. But I will say there are a lot of people who have a problem with losing that identity. They've worked in that career for 30 years or even, in that role for a long, long time. And the next stage is you lose that. You're not, a CEO anymore. You're not the president of the company. You're not the HR person, you're just plain Regina or plain Joe or whatever your name is. So that identity piece, I think that's why it's really helpful for us when we are retired to think about, mentoring, volunteering, doing something that, stirs our passion and also gets us out of the house and gives us something to do. Okay. And with that, I think, again, we talk about the movement piece, the social connection. We want to nurture some of those relationships and stay connected to family, friends, and community. And it's a little bit harder again, right? Because when you're at work, you're seeing these people every single day. When you're not, you have to work at a little bit. I know there's a lot of retired friends, friend groups that they have lunch once a quarter or twice a year or something like that. And all the retirees from that particular company, they go out to lunch and they just, have a nice little fun time. And, whereas the hobbies and learning can be something new, or it can be some kind of existing interest that you add just purpose and enjoyment to your life. And obviously the rest, the quality sleep, the downtime, the restore your energy, and also help support your brain health. I know there's been a lot of talk also about doing those like for your brain, some Quizlets and things like that, just to keep our brain sharp. I don't know the research behind it, but I do hear people talking about it a lot. Hey, it's not going to hurt, right? Just something to keep us stimulated. Okay, and obviously the movement, the physical activity helps keep our mind and our body strong and resilient. Wow, we packed a lot in there. So thank you so much for joining me. And I think our call to action should be, think about what you want to do on your post-retirement as far as what's going to keep you engaged, what's going to be your purpose before you move into that phase of your life and see if it's right for you. Thanks so much for joining me. I'm Regina McCann-Hess, president of Forge Wealth Management. My website is forgewealth.com. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Forge Wealth, and on LinkedIn, Regina McCann Hess. Have a great day. Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Women in Wealth podcast. You can watch the founder's video I created for you to learn more about me and how I can guide you towards your financial independence at www.forgewealth.com. The information in this podcast is educational and general in nature and does not take into consideration the listener's personal circumstances. Therefore, it is not intended to be a substitute for specific, individualized financial, legal, or tax advice. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a final decision. Securities are offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA, and SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and Forge Wealth Management are separate entities from the LPL Financial. Our show guests and their companies are not affiliated with nor endorsed by LPL Financial, Private Advisor Group, or Forge Wealth Management.